Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Aromatherapy. My name is Lawanda, and it's still well, it ain't very early, but it's very early because I feel like I haven't been out to bed but for like 10 minutes. But I'm trying to do this thing where, when I get a download, I'll just respond to it immediately. So I didn't get a whole bunch of time this morning to like wake up and rush. Good though, because what I tell y'all, don't fucking rush for nobody. I mean, you rush for God. No, rush for God, okay? Rush for God. But I did a video a couple days ago, and it was talking about, men who are uncomfortable with talking to women about intimate matters because women tend to throw that stuff in their face. Now, if you're a woman and you're in here looking for a pass or some type of equal, this is not the video for you. This is for the fellas. First I want to apologize on behalf of women who don't know any better, who weren't taught any different, and those who haven't sought out to become a more equal counterpart to you guys. Through my relationship, I've learned so much about what men go through from childhood. And I keep hearing, I got a couple readers who I follow now, and they do a lot of divine masculine and divine feminine readings, collective readings, and I enjoy them so much because I realize that I'm not the only person who know that men need to be treated with such care. And it's not because they are fragile, it's the opposite. Actually, it's because they've had to be so strong and put on such a mask to their feminine counterparts because they don't have safe spaces. The young lady whose video I was just watching, I got like 5 minutes into it. I'm like, I gotta do my own. She said they walk around like they are ticking time bombs, and that's the truth. One wrong move. Why y'all think it's so many murders? Why y'all think all these rappers dying? Why y'all think, nobody can figure out? It's because they have been convinced, men have been convinced that their masculinity is all they have to go off of. And anytime they try to tap into their feminine, they're attacked. Flat out. Part of, and the way she explained it was like, men need intimacy, as much as women and all of that, but they don't have those safe spaces. I might not have said it in my video, but I know for a fact, like, a lot of those unhealthy emotional boundaries come from their childhood, and a lot of it comes from like a lack of a balanced parental influence. We're gonna say that because we're not gonna keep pretending that single parents can't raise healthy children, right? But we're just talking about a balanced parental approach. You have smaller groups of boys who they pick on each other. They tell jokes on each other. They, clown them for how they're treated by women. They clown them when they don't have women. All of this, develops what men grow into in relation to being able to have a safe space to truly express themselves intimately and emotionally. And she hit the nail on the head when she talked about women having safe spaces everywhere. We create safe spaces. We sit up. I mean, we sit up. We listen. There was a young lady who just moved into my complex. She probably, I don't know, she probably ain't been here that long. And she saw my daughter's hair, and she has a daughter that's a couple years younger, and she just wanted to stop me and kind of ask me about everything that's going on. And I'm like, that's cool. And, we chopped it up for a second. And at the end of it, it was like, if you ever want to get together for a glass of wine and just, talk about whatever, just hit me up. Those moments, we do that shit like it's nothing. Men don't do that. They don't do that because they got plenty masculine energy. It runs everything. Okay? It runs the world for the most part from what it looks like. So they're not looking to, just be willing to be open with anybody. Whereas women, we can have our mothers and our grandparents and our friends and our families and kids and TV shows. And, we have all these outlets that we have created for ourselves, safe spaces that we've created for ourselves, which we do not, think to involve men in. And I know why. Because we don't want the competition. We don't want them fighting for the attention that we get when we're in those safe, intimate spaces, and that's whack as fuck. It just crossed my mind how it's a big deal if you plan a girls trip and somebody wants to bring their man along. I'm not for that. I'm not saying that. But I think in that moment, that man is looking for an intimate space, or he wouldn't want to go. He's not necessarily trying to get there and ruin the trip. He's trying to get some of that thing that women give and take from each other that allows us to get up and keep going every day. Okay, that allows us to work and take care of the kids and manage the house and do all of these things. Whereas they got the game, which is also just just another competitive area where they still don't really get to just sit in a safe space and express themselves, without being judged or misjudged. And I think it's tough for those who know now what their intimate power is because they've had time. They have either had a relationship with a woman, a divine feminine or whatever, or they've, in some cases mended relationships with their fathers. In other cases, mended relationships with their mothers. They've mended and done some healing so they can see now how long they've been deprived of something as simple as intimacy. We're not talking about sex, but this is why they can be hypersexualized. This is why, another reason why porn is so relevant, because they're looking for, all they can get is the quick fix. They can only get a quick fix. And if you're in a relationship with a guy and he is not safe with you, I'm not blaming women for being cheated on. I'm simply saying if you don't create a safe space for him, you never know what's going to happen. You never know where he's going to find that intimacy, or if he's going to just deny himself that altogether, which is never healthy, because that's where like toxic masculinity comes in, and different type of addictions, because they're trying to numb a pain that they have as a result of a void. But I've learned so much, through my relationship, because we've been together long enough for me to like really see why it's been easy for me to heal from certain things and why it might be a little more difficult, because he don't have the support. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he has it now, but he hadn't had it in the past, and nobody really knew how to like give it to him. His parents, my parents, they don't know how to give stuff that they didn't have, stuff that they wasn't taught. But lucky for him, he wrote him on somebody that was aware of what men really go through. That's why I don't have like, with the exception of one, I don't have like toxic exes. You know what I'm saying? Because I just truly understand how hard it is for men to like have the things they need. You know, so many mothers try to turn their sons into partners. They really weren't allowed to develop their emotions naturally. They were forced into the masculine role. You know, and any sign of weakness or crying or tiredness or sadness or sorrow, anything that didn't make them all fucking high and mighty and bringing in some money, those sides of them were just shut down. They were beat out of them, or they were emotionally abused out of them, or they were gaslit out of them. You know what I'm saying? They were not allowed safe spaces. You know, so they're growing up and they got their group of guy friends that poke fun at them when a girl turns them down. Now you got grown men that don't know how to take no because they don't think of themselves as worthy already. So telling them no is just like lighting a ticking time bomb. That's why women are dying and all this shit is happening when women reject men, because they've been rejected so much. She might have just been like the straw that broke the camel's back, not necessarily the cause, of their pain. So for women, this is how I feel. And I believe that men lead in certain areas and women lead in certain areas. Not gonna hold you up. I think women lead everything. That's just me. But we need to be better at leading by example. We need to be better at learning the things and the tools necessary to help us and our counterparts, and stop fucking competing with these men. It's hard as fuck. I'm gonna say that because we have no motherfucking idea. We don't have a fucking clue. And I'm about to tell y'all how I realized I was competing with mine not even a month ago. And it's just so fucking wild. I was so glad I asked. Again, very first video talked about asking for what you want specifically, right? So I was, listening. I got a couple of downloads and it was like, stop competing with your man, da 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 da. I'm like, well, I'm not competing. I realize anytime I do that, I'm lying. I'm lying. Because I'm like insulted. Like, I'm trying to do everything right. So I'm no damn well I'm not competing with him. But I'm going to tell you. So we looking for a house, right? And I have in my mind what the perfect house is going to be. He has in his mind what the perfect house is going to be, right? Now, it's not like our missions for success aren't aligned. That's not the truth. I mean, the things that we want, the space, all that kind of stuff, like we're aligned with that. But I have a picture of what I think is okay, and he has his own picture. And I remember, every time, and it just would be random, we just would be talking about him, would be looking, and he would be like, I think 3 bedrooms is good, da 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 da. The whole time he's saying 3 bedrooms is good, I'm only clicking on the houses that's got 4 or 5 bedrooms. Okay? And so we mistake this thing where men aren't as vocal as them not paying attention. Y'all can stop. That shit ain't true either, okay? Niggas really be listening. That's why they know they can't tell y'all shit. Okay? Because of how you handle the information. It's not that they're worried that you will bring it back up. You do that shit when you're mad. You do it when you're trying to be funny. And you do it when you want your way. That shit ain't cool. That's manipulation ass shit. That shit whack. Anyway. So I'm looking at the houses that he's saying what he want, but I'm like actively looking at what I want, right? And so, after that, the competition comment was made, and I just was like, I don't want to be competing. That was the first thing that popped in my head, and I'm like, oh, fuck. That's exactly what that is. This man, the man of the house, is telling me what he thinks. And don't get me wrong, we talk about it and we got on the same page about it and everything, but I feel like initially I'm such an independent person because of the life that I've had to live, that I just, all I can think in my mind is that I'm always right. I'm so used to being right. I'm so used to like leading in certain situations that when it comes time to share the leadership, I'm not always the quickest to like let it go and be like, okay, yeah, well, what you say, what you think, and then wait. That was my issue. Like, okay, well, baby, what you think? If he say I don't know, or I don't know, let me think about it, I'm right back to the computer like, I'm thinking about it right the fuck now. That thing where like when you ask God for something, if you don't get an immediate answer, your brain just kind of take over. You fill in the blank space instead of just waiting to get that information. You force it through yourself, which is always your ego doing it. It's the same thing we do with them. We ask them for something, and if it's not a yes right away or a no right away, then the first thing we do is try to fill in the blanks with our own shit. That's competition. That's competing with your man. If he say something like, anytime, a guy says, I like this or I want this, and the first thing, well, I like this, well, I want this. It's almost like I know where they get the feeling of I can't win from losing, because for them it's so much more in their nature to compete to win, because that's how, back in the day when they was hunting, it might be one deer, everybody trying to get it. They're competing for survival, right? And so I feel like in some cases it's so much more in their nature. And for us, it has become more our nature just through the world, really, to also have to compete and to also have to like fight for dinner and all of that kind of shit. So it's not like, again, it's not a competition. We've all had some wins, we've all had some losses, but when we come together and we're really trying to establish healing, when you come together with your partner, you should be trying to establish healing, because you have no idea of all the things that are going to be triggered up in that relationship. You have no idea of what is going to happen that's going to require the healed version of you to handle it in the proper way. Okay? We should be able to learn how to step back. Everybody want an alpha male, whether they tell you they do or they don't, or they lie to me. They want one. Every woman wants a man that can take care of her. I don't care how independent she is. You can be the richest woman in the world and you still want an intimate safe space when you come home. Why do we think men don't want the same thing? You know what I'm saying? I had to really learn to like because it was a lot of competition. Just conditioning though. I was a single parent for the whole time before me and him got together. So I'm used to, I make all the decisions. Everything that get done is done because I do it, because I see it through, because I follow through, because I check off every box. Well, that's not the case anymore. So it was difficult for me to learn how to just be quiet, because my role had been determined, by imbalance prior to that, and his too. You know what I'm saying? So what I wanted to do and what I knew I would be doing from the beginning, because I had done the same for myself. See, when my daughter was really young, she used to leave every summer to visit family. So I had created a safe space for me. It started off as just a way for me to like unwind and, kind of get everything back in order, take some time out for myself. She got to visit with family, but what I was really doing was creating a safe space for myself, because that's where my healing journey started, on one of her trips, right? So what I knew within like the first, 6 months of my healing journey started, you can't heal if there's not a safe space. You can't. Because you have to produce. I'm gonna stop saying work. You have to produce. You have to be there for your kids. You have to you have responsibilities, right? But there aren't, safe spaces don't come with responsibility. They come with patience and understanding and time. Time that allows you to really dig in with yourself and think about what's going on. Think about your past relationships. Think about the relationships you got with your parents. It just requires it, right? So when we started dating, I knew, like, this is going to have to be a safe space for him. Flat out. He going to need it. He's going to need it. And it's funny because, I had dated people before and that shit, it didn't cross my mind to give them no safe space. I don't give no fuck. I don't give no fuck about your safe space, nigga. It's so weird because I feel like all men deserve it, but all men don't want it. So I ain't giving, I ain't on that. I knew, there was something in him that wanted it. He didn't really know what it was, and I wasn't 100% sure, other than, we just gonna have to, like, put ourselves in better environments so that we can, continue on the healing journey, which I had kind of been talking to him about mine prior to us dating anyway. So he was kind of up on what I was talking about and what I was going to try to do. So, once we started dating, that was always my intention. But again, you never know, what's going to be triggered in a person. Years. We've been together years, okay? More than 5. And when the competition thing came up, I'm like, oh my God, I have been doing this the whole time. But, I feel like initially, and for the most part, don't get me wrong, we don't argue about that kind of shit. He kind of just give me my way. But for the most part, we fight together against the shit outside of our house. So it's not like we're not arguing about what house we want. It was never an argument. I really think it was just it was a moment to teach me what's going on between men and women, which I already know. That's why motherfuckers can't stop talking about, oh, should we go 50-50 on the bills? Like, bitch, if you need to go 50-50 on the bills this year, just go 50-50 on the motherfucking bills. Like, we all want some shit that we ain't fucking willing to work for, and that shit blows my mind. So now chicks is bouncing from nigga to nigga because they think they deserve some shit that they ain't worked their ass off to get themselves. That shit is crazy. That shit is crazy, and that ain't no shit y'all can blame on men. So stop it. Stop it. I watch women compete to be hoes. Now I'm saying hoes, not because I'm slut shaming, or I ain't shaming nobody except the motherfuckers that need to be motherfucking shamed. So take it personal if you want to, okay? Since when did sexual liberation come with unprotected sex with multiple men that ended in multiple fucking abortions? Like, what are we doing? We're competing. Meanwhile, the men are not fucking competing with us. They just doing what the fuck they got to do because they don't have no safe spaces. They just out here fucking doing shit because they don't have a safe space. They don't have a place to call home. Y'all not fucking providing a home. So everybody just out in the streets fucking and shooting each other. Like, come on. Yeah. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that this is, where we have come to as a collective humanity. Like, I'm sorry to y'all from whoever the fuck did it. I'm apologizing on their behalf. But it is very important for men to, and it's so crazy because I can say everybody should get therapy, and I believe everybody should get therapy because a lot of things you can sort out in therapy. You really can. But until you can play those things out in real life, therapy is only going to help you so much. Therapy is not going to, like, do the work for you, is my point. Like, you can go talk about it, you can get reconfirmed, you can find out you're on the right path, you can get tools. But if you're not in relationships that allow you to use those tools, then therapy is just some shit on the back burner until you can put it in practice. You know what I'm saying? So You know, I think for all of us, the safest space is the one you create for yourself. And a lot of times it requires you to be alone. It requires you to be alone so that you can develop the balance between your masculine energy and your feminine energy. And this is for women too. Like, y'all gotta stop. Y'all gotta just stop for a second. Like, give yourself a fucking minute. How long you been fucking? Long time, right? Cool. Have you ever taken a break? Like, what the fuck? What y'all think people who are abstinent do? And I can't say that because some people are abstinent because they got their heart broken. I get all of that. But for the most part, abstinence should be used as an opportunity to develop your feminine and your masculine energy so that when it's time for you to date again, your boundaries are correct. And you can introduce your authentic, balanced self from the beginning. And if a bitch or a nigga don't like you, you ain't got to fuck with them. Ain't no more confusion. The confusion is when we battling on the inside. And so we're attracting other confused people who are also battling on the inside. And now it's just one big ass ball of chaos. And we can't understand why we can't stop it because we don't have no self-control. We're not willing to be alone. We're not willing to be alone. We are not willing to be alone. And we need to be. If you don't have a safe space, and when I say alone, even if you're in a relationship, alone time is the time you take to check in with yourself. The amount of alone time you get is going to be based on, you know, the decisions that you made up until this point. So if you got a house full of kids, go to the library. You need to get up earlier. Or you need to make sure you got enough energy to stay up later. Like, you need to make sure that you have the alone time necessary to study yourself, to watch videos on healing, to watch videos on childhood trauma, to, you know, watch videos on proper ways for men to develop a balance. Like, the words I'm using are Google searchable, YouTube searchable. Like, there ain't no excuse, men and women, for you to not be able to search out the information that you need. Your ass on your phone all day. We know how to look up everything else. That was another thing that I was geeked about when my healing journey started. Was I wasn't sure how I was gonna get the information, and then certain words would just pop up. But I'm like, well, let me look that up. What that say? What that mean? What that? Oh shit! And then you get some of these definitions and you read them. You like, damn, everybody's suffering from that. That happened to me. That happened to my boy. That happened to my cousin. That happened to everybody I know got that. So then you start to see, okay, so even though I've vowed to the universe that I'm going to spend some time alone as a single person, right? I found out, one of the first things I found out is, although I'm alone, I'm not the only person experiencing this. I've just decided to dig into it, figure it out so that I can hopefully fix it. You got to be a part of your own rescue. You know, and for men, you know, my suggestion is that you be willing to spend some time alone. You know, I know that sex is sometimes the only intimacy you get. And I know you want it so bad. Because shit, women be wanting it too. We can't get intimacy with our friends and our parents and sister circles and all that shit. But I want a man. Like, I want a partner. Because there is no intimacy like the one between a man and a woman. There isn't. That intimacy has the ability to bring forth life. So I'm not saying at all that having a good relationship with your parents is like having a good relationship with your partner. But you have to work on all of those, and until you can really identify what it is that you're bringing to the table, you know, bringing somebody else into that world with you is not fair. You know, it's really not fair. You know, so I should have brought my deck out here so I could pull a couple cards. But I was listening to a lady yesterday. And I felt her because she did something that I did the day before, which fucked me up. And, you know, sometimes when you're reading the cards, once you learn the cards, like, certain messages the message when the cards put together can really, it can be vast. And it's so nice when you get a brand new interpretation, right, based on whatever message you're trying to channel. So she pulled the Ten of Wands and the Ten of Pentacles, right? And the Ten of Pentacles came out first, and the Ten of Wands came out after. So the Ten of Pentacles is about really the traditional success. You got your king, your queen, and their kids, and their castle, and they're secure, and they're stable, and they got the house and the dog and the white picket fence. Very much cookie cutter, perfect family, right? Perfect environment. Whereas the Ten of Wands is about being overburdened. You see a person carrying, just overloaded. Then she got a motherfucking, I think it's a bull, and the bull is all weighed down, so she's just completely overburdened. And the way she read the card, I wish I could think of her name. I don't want to say the wrong thing. What she got, and as soon as she said it, you know what I felt her. Okay. Basically, up until this point, the Ten of Pentacles has been about success, traditional success, family success, all of that. But when paired with the Ten of Wands, when you talk about the traditional success, and then you put it next to the Ten of Wands, it's talking about the burden of the ideal traditional success, the success that we've been taught for this long is what success looks like. And a lot of us are overburdened with it. That's why people are rushing to get married. That's why people think, like me, when I graduated from college, that I should have got a fucking $50,000 job out the gate. Well, y'all niggas lie, so we just hold the conversation. But you know what I'm saying? We have these expectations because of what we think the traditional success of ourselves and our family is supposed to look like. So we get out here and we rush along, and when the shit don't happen in whatever the illusion is, you know, in terms of a time frame, we get distracted, and then we start settling for relationships. We start settling for a bunch of shit because we thought everything was gonna happen in this. You know, I'm gonna go to school, I'm gonna go to college, I'm gonna graduate, I'm gonna get a job, I'm gonna find a man, we're gonna have kids, we're gonna buy a house, happy family within what, let's say 10 years. You got girls out there, oh my goodness, I got a friend who got a friend who, you know, was with a guy, and you know, he said some crazy shit, like she got cellulite, so they broke up after like 6 months. And she was telling me how, you know, I'm like, okay, well, that's probably another woman, because these men today know, they don't care about cellulite. I mean, they do. You got shallow dudes and all that, but for the most part, niggas don't care. And meantime, cellulite ain't created in 6 months. She had that cellulite when they started, right? So he broke up with her. So I'm like, oh, sound like another woman, probably somebody with some more money or whatever. So she was like, yeah, she was like, but I'm worried that she gonna let him come back. I'm like, what you mean? She was like, would you let him come back? No. 6 months? No, hell no. 6 months is plenty of time for you to know or not know. And if you don't know, nigga, I'm for sure you ain't know. No, he can't come back. And I'm like, well, why do you think she'll let him come back? And she was like, well, because she got this, you know, this perfect idea of her marriage, of getting married, I think, you know, by a certain time or whatever. And I'm like, fuck. Another one bites the dust. You want to marry a nigga that broke up with you after 6 months because of cellulite? You will let that nigga come back because of your idea of marriage. And so the burden, that's a burden. It's a burden to believe that you need to be married by a certain time. It's a burden to believe that marriage is more important than healing. It's a burden to believe that marriage is going to fix your problems. It's a burden to fucking believe money will fix your problems. All of that shit is a burden. It's a burden to think the only way motherfuckers gonna be happy is if they in a big ass house in a motherfucking neighborhood and the kids, all of those are burdens on the normal person. But we don't look at it like that because society is like, it's all around us, constantly telling us what our expectations should be. Meanwhile, on the inside, we're in constant conflict. But we'll sit up on social media, we'll sit in our circles of friends, and we'll talk about how other countries got a 30-hour work week, free health care. We look at somebody posted a picture years ago of like the lunches, the school lunches, and of course America's lunches look fucking trash. Everybody else got fresh fruits and vegetables and fucking exotic salads and all this healthy shit, and we can see that, but we don't think we can obtain it. Well, it's because we're burdened by what tradition looks like. You know, a man not being a hoe is confusing to a bunch of people because in their mind, men sleep around, and I'm like, and a woman being vindictive, using the shit you say against her, that's all normal because we've normalized it. It's been normalized. But it only has to be a fact if you do it. You know why I never say all men cheat? Because I don't cheat. I've never cheated. So you think I'm worried about attracting a person that's going to cheat? No. I have been cheated on. But that's not the... It still didn't make me a cheater. I am who the fuck I am because I chose to be this way. So I'm, don't get me wrong, I done fell into my shit, but I ain't really a follower type bitch. I ain't really out here just letting my body or my traumatic experiences just expose me to everything. No. So once my healing started, and once it was time for me to start attracting things again, I started attracting shit that was that mirrored who I am on the inside, not who I had become as a result of my traumas. Those are the triggers and shit that we've healed from and that we worked on through our union. Things I could have never worked on when I was single, but I took the time to be alone so that I could start to identify how fucked up my boundaries was and where I wasn't holding myself accountable, where I wasn't being responsible for my own desires. Like, there would be times where I was talking to my cousin the other day and we was laughing because I'm like, it was easy for me to decide because I was on Plenty of Fish, okay, meeting all kind of random niggas. None of them, I mean, like, when I say I couldn't believe how unimpressed I was with every dude that I met off Plenty of Fish. And I guess, the joke's on me because nobody took Plenty of Fish serious, but I still had my stupid ass expectations right there on Plenty of Fish because I was thirsty for intimacy. I just want a man and to be loved and have this thing, so I'm gonna go wherever I think I might get it, even though I know for a motherfucking fact nobody got nothing good to say about Plenty of Fish. But here LaWanda is thinking she's special and shit, right? So I'm dating, we're not even dating. We also wasn't fucking, so don't get it twisted. I wasn't fucking these niggas. But I meet him, we go out once or twice, and I just be like, ugh. And I got tired of doing that. I'm like, this is such a waste of time. And I was like, you just settling. And it came to me like, so you need to sit back and wait. And I think my fear was, I don't get out much. I wasn't a clubber at that time. I'm like, I don't really do too much. How they gonna find me if I'm always in the house? That was, Plenty of Fish was kind of my way of like, kind of putting myself out there in a way, because like I said, I'm not going out, but I wasn't trying to meet dudes in the clubs or at the bar. So no, I'm not going out. I worked at the library, but I wouldn't meet nobody in the library. I kind of worked in the back anyway, in the back offices. So, I was worried that in my healing journey, I wasn't going to get seen, because my healing journey didn't start with me wanting a man. It started with me wanting not to be mad on the inside. My own fucking ticking time bomb, okay? So once it came time for me to deal with my issues with men, it was like, okay, I healed this part, I worked on this, I'm feeling better. Now it's time for me to actively pursue what I talked to God about. And I found out real quick, no, you're supposed to ask and then sit back and let yourself be led and not let the voices, compete for your action. And that could be your heart, that could be your mind, your ego. All of those things are like, your heart ain't really in competition. Your heart be really ready to tell you, burn all that shit down, fuck it. But in this case, I was being told to just give it a second, just give it a minute. And I did. And it might have only been like a couple months, and I started dreaming about it. That shit was wild. Oh my God, it was, I still blush when I think about that shit. But I couldn't see his face, and you know what I'm saying? I had like 2 dreams. Meanwhile, we friends. We already friends. We already back in each other's life. We're not talking or anything like that. We just friends catching up, on stuff from back in the day and all of that. And I remember, I was watching The 5 Ways to Know Your Soulmate by Touré Roberts. Y'all, oh my God. Okay. If y'all ain't heard nothing I said this whole video, go to YouTube and pull up a video called The 5 Ways to Know Your Soulmate by Touré Roberts. Toure Roberts, okay? Watch that video. I watched it 2 or 3 times at the beginning of my healing journey, because every time I watched it, if I was dating somebody at the time, I would be like closer to 5, but I got to like 2 and I'm like, nope, he ain't it, and I was willing to cut it off. That was like during the Plenty of Fish days. Then I think I was actually dating somebody, and I got to 3. And what I realized, I know y'all not gonna believe me, but once I had the dream, right? Because I had watched it, and I wasn't watching it while he was there. I probably watched it like a year before, and then like a year later, and then maybe like 6 months after that or whatever, just to make sure I was staying with it, right? Staying with the information and kind of keeping that forefront in my mind, so that I didn't settle for nothing that didn't fulfill them 5, right? And we friends, I had a dream, and this is the same story I told my cousin. So I had the dream, and I remember my friend came to pick me up. At the time, he was my friend. He came to pick me up, and I was telling him, he was on the phone, and he got the phone. We were sitting there talking, and he was like, I just was in him. I was just kind of in this. I don't know. It's like I was there, but I wasn't there. And he might have asked me like, "What's going on? What's on your mind?" And I'm like, "Man, I just had this crazy ass dream." And I'm like, "I've been going through this healing stuff," and I'm like, so I had this dream about this dude. I'm like, but I couldn't see his face. I'm like, and I feel in my heart of hearts that was my person. I'm like, that was my person. I'm like, but I can't see his face. I'm like, it just was a dream of him like helping me build my house, like not build my house. Because I had studied the virtuous woman thing also, and I'm like, no, my shit is already built. But he came and furnished my shit, right? He was basically coming in, and he kept coming in with like, all by himself too, lifting like chases and big ass wooden pieces, and I'm like, why do it look? It feels like he's furnishing this house that I built, right? When in all actuality, he was really just bringing furniture into the bedroom of the house that I was in at the time, but I knew when I woke up what I was with that dream in. So I'm telling him, I'm just confused. I'm like, because he had on sweatpants. I'm like, and I don't really know no dudes that wear sweatpants. I'm like, all the dudes I know, they kind of have like corporate jobs, so they kind of dress slacky, whatever them pants is, with the shirts and all that shit. Like this. And I'm like, this dude was laid back, relaxed, sweatpants, feet up type shit. I'm like, so I don't know. I'm like, 'cause I just don't want nobody to wear sweatpants. We backing out the driveway. He didn't look at me. He was looking at the one. He's like, I wear sweatpants. And I remember looking down, and I was like, you do wear sweatpants. And I just kind of laughed. And then I was like, no, I know damn well. You feel me? Like, I know damn well you didn't just tell me. Now, when I say I'd known him long enough, and our relationship was special. Our friendship was special, like how we met. And I say special because of where we're at now. And you look back at it like, damn, he got a chance to watch me married. He got a chance to see how I was within a relationship. He got a chance to watch me. So that's good for him. When we talk about men not having safe spaces, not trusting women, I'm like, damn. It would make sense because he definitely got to watch me married, so he definitely know how I act. He know how I cook. He know how I am around the house and all of that shit, right? So I'm, all those things are running through my mind. So I'm just still like, yo, that's wild. So what I do, I went back, watched the video again, and I'm like, I feel like I got all the way through 5, and we still hadn't even discussed dating or nothing like that. And I just remember sitting there like in awe. Because one of the, I think number 4 or 3 is like, how we get ourselves in situations. We get in the situation first. This is why it's so funny. This is why y'all should watch it. We get the relationship first, or we get the partner first, and then we be like, oh, God, tell me if this ain't it. And he like, God, I didn't tell you it was it. Now you want me to get you out of something you got yourself in when you should have just asked me from the beginning and waited for me to tell you. Instead, you did what you wanted to do. Now you want me to tell you the opposite. And I'm like, oh my God, I've done that every time. Every time I got in a relationship, I fucked around and found out. I got in the relationship first, and it was like, God, if this ain't it. Well, if you got to ask God if this ain't it, it ain't it. If you're already in it, like before you get in a relationship, if you're like, God, show me what I need to show. Is this the one? Just da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You got some time. But if you get in the relationship and you're like, well, God, if he ain't the one, tell me. He like, I didn't tell you he was the one. So it's this thing of ask first. Don't act and then tell God, wait for God to tell you it's the wrong situation. The man about to tell you it's the wrong situation. You don't need God to tell you that it's wrong. You already feel it's wrong. That's why you ask. That video is top notch, right? So, you know, I was worried because I'm like, well, I said I know I'm supposed to be alone and I ain't about to force it. And especially with him, I'm like, he is the last person that I need to fuck around and find out if I'm wrong with, because I fuck with him, like really, really good friends. And I'm like, I was hesitant to risk it. Not because I was worried about the success, because I wanted to make sure I was hearing spirit right. So I watched the video, got all the way through 5, and I'm like, okay, we not even dating though, so I don't know. So I just, nothing. I went on going with the flow, right? A couple weeks later, I have another dream. Completely different set, same guy, still can't see his face, but now I'm in my dream really looking at his body type. And I'm like, oh, I like sweatpants. I'm like, oh my God, Lord, like what? And then, like, there were so many synchronicities. There were so many conversations that we had where we were already not only mirroring each other in the moment, but our future selves were mirroring each other too. Our future selves was already like, yeah, I want that in my future self. This ain't it, then I ain't doing this, and this is how it need to be, and because of this, and because of that. And there were so many synchronicities between us. I just kind of like was like, okay, Lord, well, I'm with you, and I know that I said I would be alone, and I feel like it was my willingness to surrender. Magic word. My willingness to surrender my desires, my willingness to surrender what I thought it would look like, my willingness to surrender the process, my willingness to surrender the ideal, the picture perfect, my willingness to surrender my insecurities, because I wouldn't have fucking thought for a minute. I wasn't looking at myself right. I didn't know yet, but I didn't think for a minute. And that was one of the first conversations we had, and it was crazy because, when other people see us, whatever the fuck they see, the shit was undeniable. Like, oh my God, y'all never, even when y'all was like never, y'all used to just, you could see the chemistry, you could see the magic. But when you have two innocent beings, I'm not looking for that. Neither one of us was looking to betray anything or anybody or even our own friendship boundaries. We wasn't looking to do that shit. We just was cool. But what I didn't realize is he had already found a safe space in me. And he had already showed up as, like, to protect me. You know what I'm saying? One of the first things that kind of got us closer to where I could see that, he was willing to express a lot of things to me was him stepping up to protect me. When the person that should have been protecting me pushed my ass to the side and said, get somebody else to do it. Oh, shit. That nigga told me, get somebody else to do it. Oh my God, bro. He told me, get somebody else to do it. Oh shit. Okay, so I wanted to go, and to like the next town, I went to a school in a very small town, but it was a bunch of small towns around it, right? So I was trying to get me some of that, and I'm like, you got to go with me. I don't know these people. I'm not riding out here in the fucking country of Ohio by myself talking about I'm looking for that. So can you? He like, get somebody else to do it. Literally, I feel like he created the meme back in 2006. Get somebody else to do it. And I'm like, what you mean? You my husband. What do you mean get somebody else to do it? Who the fuck you think I'm gonna get to? I'm gonna go get one of the other black women who I fuck with and take them with me on this mission? No. So my feminine was like, we got to find a masculine. But half the masculines around would love to fuck. So I have enough integrity to where I'm not gonna pick the man that has said some slick shit to me while wasn't nobody looking. I'm not gonna pick the niggas that come and go, to hang with you. But if they could have it that way, they could. I ain't picking none of them because I got my own integrity, and I can't let a nigga think for a minute that you can play me. So who I'm gonna pick? Him, the one that has never said, the one who everybody think got an attitude problem, the one that think the one that everybody think don't like nobody. I'm like, shit, he fuck with me, and at the time he was my roommate. I didn't do that shit. Can you ride with me? Yeah, I ride with you. He ain't gonna ride. I'm like, shit, he told me to get somebody else to do it. He like, what? He like, yeah, I ride. Type that. Okay, and within those rides, grew a safe space for him, but I didn't know because I'm so used to people being vulnerable with me. It was what it was. So fast forward, I'm sitting here with all those thoughts like, oh my God, we really used to have some deep ass conversations on those trips and missions, right? And I'm talking about family, like old. I'm not talking about like I don't fuck with her and not the surface shit. Okay, so I'm sitting there and I'm just, all these synchronicities, and he came over the day after his birthday. Wow, well, first he said something. I missed his birthday. I used to get the days mixed up. I was always a day off. And he called me and he was like, as soon as I answered the phone, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry your birthday was yesterday. Happy birthday. He was like, yeah. He was like, thank you. He was like, out of everybody that called, the only person I wanted to call didn't. And I'm like, sweatpants. I'm like, oh my God. So now what's happening is the difference between the universe's no and what the universe's yes looks like. The yes looks like press, motherfucking full court press. That shit that we be wanting to do for us, the universe will full court press your ass when it's time for you to have something that's yours. Like, yeah, that's what he said. I'm like, I'm so sorry. My bad. I think I was like, not remodeling the inside of the house, but like cleaning it out, polyurethane and floors, cleaning out a garage of the house I was renting. I just was really doing like some heavy housework. And so I'm like, well, what you doing? I'm almost finished. I'm like, you can stop by. He was like, I'm getting off the exit. And so it just started to line up. It just started to line up. You know what I'm saying? It just started to line up. And, we kicking it, and we just standing there talking. I was done, and I had a guy working on like my back room. Excuse me, he thought he liked me, but the dude in the back room, it was so funny because he took like a 30-minute job and was at my house for 3 hours. The whole time he was there, me and my friend at the time, we sat in the living room, we talking. Ain't no furniture. Ain't no furniture in the living room. I'm waiting on furniture to get delivered. We standing, talking, laughing, drinking wine and Hennessy. Just talking and time is just flying. So the dude come downstairs and he started messing with my garage door, trying to get my attention. And it kind of pissed me off. And I just remember snapping at him. And I remember thinking when I snapped at him, I'm like, I know you over here. You only over here because you like me. Whatever the fuck. I need my back room polyurethane. And I got money. So you liking me don't mean shit because I'm going to pay you. He kept hitting the door. So he would like hit it and the garage door would go up a little bit. Then he hit it again and go down a little bit and hit it again. And he did that shit for like 5 minutes because I wasn't really paying no attention. And I'm like, yo, what are you doing? And he said something like, I'm done or some shit. He said, I'm like, well, then you need to get done and get out. Like, what are we, you know what I'm saying? And I remember I don't talk to people like that. Like, I don't be snapping, especially when I think you like me. I don't do people like that. That embarrassing, emasculating. I don't do that. Okay. But the way that I kind of snap, because I realized what he's doing is to get my attention. But I'm standing in here with my nigga. And it was the way my mind started to process how I felt about him being willing to interrupt my conversation with him, right? Now, mind you, I ain't necessarily tied myself to him yet with all the thoughts and everything, the dreams and all that. I didn't do that. I'm just like, oh my goodness. And I just realized that I had a deeper respect for him than I had acknowledged, probably because nobody was really around to challenge it. So when dude was doing that, I'm like, what the fuck? Kind of snapping. So he was like, all right, something. So he left. And so then he was like, we about to go out for his birthday. And so he was like, all right, I'm about to, he was like, I'm about to run to the store and I'm gonna come right back. I'm like, cool, I'm gonna, go jump in the shower, get dressed in, boom, boom. So I go, get dressed, he leaves, I go get dressed. He come back, we sitting down there talking. And I don't even know how it came up, because I had been out with him once before, and I think he had, kind of mentioned, something that somebody said to him, like, why not her? She seemed cool, y'all seen that, she pretty, she da-da-da-da-da. And his response was like, man, that's just my friend. Like, she don't look at me like that. And I'm like, oh, he fishing. But what did I say? Confidently, shit, I didn't think you looked at me like that. Like, I didn't, what you mean? Now I want to know. What are we talking about? What you mean? And so that conversation kind of led into this breaking of the illusion that I feel like we put up as a safe space, so that it didn't appear that we were trying to betray anybody or do anything slick or sneaky. We really wanted it to be pure. So we start kind of having those conversations, and then, I mean, from the beginning, you could just see the synchronicities between our current selves, what we wanted to do within our current space, and then what we wanted our future to look like. So it was an overwhelming yes. And that's the difference. You know, it's going to be an overwhelming yes. It won't be no doubt. Now, that's not to say you're not going to create your own doubt out of fear, but the universe ain't sending you no doubt. And if you're in union with the spirit, then you'll be able to say, listen, I know I got my own doubt, but can you just, like, I need more yeses. I need a yes at every turn to be sure that I'm not convincing myself that something is here that's not really here. You know, so we talked about so many things, and now this time, you know, we were talking about what it would look like for us, you know, and it just was different. But I knew, you know, that I was gonna have to create a safe space for him, and I feel like he knew the same. We have both had, you know, severely traumatic experiences in the past, and we were not going to be able to handle each other the way we were used to handling people that we were dealing with. Both of us are Tauruses, very strong-minded, strong-willed, very what I say go type energy. You're not gonna play me. You're not gonna fuck me over. That was the vibe. But we knew with each other we had to lay them swords down. We had to lay down the things that made us defend ourselves in the past, because the plan was to heal. That's what we talked about. We talked about marriage and all of that stuff too. And I'm like, shit, that's the easy part. We're gonna get married tomorrow. But this healing shit, that's what the safe space is for. So it is important that when you are unable to find safe spaces within the relationships that you have, that you create one for yourself. You know, he also talked about in that video how or why so many relationships end in divorce. And a lot of it is because people get married because they think that's what they're supposed to do. They get married because they think that's what they have to do. They get married because, you know, it's been 2 years. And oh my God, what you look like being in a relationship and you ain't been married. Y'all been together 15 years, they never got married. He finally put a ring on her finger. Those type comments make motherfuckers think they're supposed to get married within a certain time frame, and it's fucked up. It's fucked up that one comment like that could take a person who think that they just taking their time and going with the flow in their relationship, and then they start pressuring for marriage, and then everything blows up. Because here's the thing. If you're not on a healing journey together, there is a huge chance that you could be married 25, 30 years and you heal or you grow and something changes, and all of a sudden you roll over, like he said in the video, and you either don't recognize yourself or you no longer recognize your person. So now y'all staying married for kids, for the clout, because if y'all get divorced, the money gonna get tricky. You know, and now you're tasked with the ideal of, do we stay married or do we get a divorce? And it's because we didn't prioritize healing. We prioritized the marriage. And in order to know these things, safe spaces are required. You need time to let the parts of you that are underdeveloped develop. And when we are in relationships with people who use our trauma to get back at us, that's so unfortunate and fucked up, because women be knowing what they do, and that's what they know. That's how you know men. That's how you know how much power men have, because women will take the little bit of power that you gave them and throw that shit back in your face. That should help you know how powerful you are and how strong you are. But imagine how powerful you would be if your energies were balanced. Because you're already powerful as a masculine. You know what I'm saying? As having your own physical strength and all of that kind of shit. Women know they can't really do too much with that. But imagine how much more powerful and what your attraction and manifestation abilities would be if your masculine and your feminine within you were balanced. Safe spaces, y'all. And time alone. Time alone. Okay? Start, journaling and writing down what intimacy looks like for you. What perfect intimacy would feel like for you. What you could do with intimacy. How much better would you feel? What things that bother you wouldn't bother you if you were balanced in your feminine and your masculine. Start talking to yourself, asking yourself, and letting yourself answer. Don't ask yourself and then fill in the blank. Well, I know why. Well, if you know why, then you can do something about it. But if you force in the response, then just give it a second. Just give it some time. And give yourself some time and some grace. And don't convince yourself that the only way that you can have intimacy with a woman is through sex. Okay. As men, it's important for y'all to up y'all standards and boundaries too. And I don't mean by talking shit about other people. What the dude do on Twitter? He posted a video of a kitchen he built. Excuse me, and then said, how your boyfriend podcast doing? Like, nigga, you ain't getting no pussy because you said that. Like, shut the fuck up. That weak ass shit. But see, men deal with that a lot. They are constantly in competition with each other. That's not your role. It is not your role to compete with your man. You're supposed to be competing against the motherfucking world outside of y'all. Not creating competition on the inside world. But is there really an outside world? Where y'all got niggas on the sides? People y'all entertaining, people you considering like, hey, I'm just saying, let's be honest about it. Let's be honest about it. You can't stop competing with your dude because you got niggas competing for you and he don't even know. What you thought? What you thought that energy wasn't going to develop? Like you really have to close yourself off to the outside world so y'all can identify that y'all are not competing against each other, and then when it's time to compete, it's y'all against them, not y'all against each other. And I'm gonna say this again and then I'm gonna go. Stop putting all your business on fucking social media. Stop doing it. Stop doing it, bro. Because I'm strong, right? Strong will, got a strong mind, strong energy, strong everything. Feminine. Okay? But even I have been tricked up emotionally by the comments that's like before us, oh, y'all been dating for 4 or 5 years. He ain't even did X, Y, Z. Be like, damn. No, I could feel good about everything about me and that person. Like, it's nothing. We got an understanding. It's all good. I still want what I want, eventually. But right now, I'm just in a transition, and this works for me. But then it'll make you question, okay, so when I do get a dude, hell yeah, if we're not married, when I get that person that I can discuss marriage with, if we're not married in 2 to 3 years, I'm going to leave him. And it's like, bitch, you don't fucking know. You don't know. So for those who are sensitive to energies, staying off social media is just as important as not putting all your business on it, because the energies that are floating around are that of competition. I don't feel like happy men aren't forced to marry. They get married when they're ready. I'm not saying, you know the difference. You gotta be honest with yourself. If a man just stringing you along, telling you shit to make you, believe, make you happy, make you, set for the moment. You know the difference. You know how you feel on the inside about your relationship. Don't let nobody tell you nothing outside of that. Don't let nobody tell you that how you feel or what they're doing is do what feels good to you. Okay? Do what feels good. And I ain't gonna hold you up. healing before marriage every time. That marriage shit can wait. You know how easy it is to get married? So in the state of South Carolina, you can become a notary republic. Is it notary republic? I don't know. You can become a notary, and you can do marriages. Like, you can officiate marriages when you become a notary in South Carolina. Like, that shit is so capitalistic. Okay, it's got shit to do with nothing. And so that means anybody. And then the notary application, it's just an application. You ain't gotta take a test. You don't have to know shit. You just gotta like send an application, ask, send a fee, and really just hope they say yeah. But it ain't really nothing that's gonna make them say no, unless you probably got something on your background or some shit like that. But anybody that probably got a clean background can do a marriages now. Do that feel spiritual to you? Do that feel like somebody who is really operating in their highest good to help solidify a union between two people? No. That sounds like somebody who go get a $25 yes and then charge you whatever to just marry whoever. Okay. All right, y'all. So yes, create your safe space and give yourself the alone time you need to identify what intimate settings you need for yourself. What type of intimacy and how you can go about recreating the boundaries that have allowed you to settle for less. It's going to start with healing your childhood trauma. Okay. It's going to start with blocking some people. It's going to start with switching up your environment, not hanging around certain people. Or it's going to require you to start checking the men in your life that talk shit every time a girl tell you no, or talk shit every time there's something about you and a female. Motherfuckers have always got some shit to say. You're going to have to start checking that shit. Make your safe space where niggas claim they love you at. You should be able to talk to your boys about whatever the fuck. If them niggas making you feel some kind of way, check that shit. Check it. Y'all might get into a fight. I'm sorry. Y'all might stop talking. I'm sorry. Oh well. This is about you. And if you don't know how to be about you, you can't expect women to be about you. You got to show people how to treat you. Whether you are a man or a woman, you have to show people how to treat you. Okay? All right. I just had to come and like get that out real quick. My babies is looking for me. They want breakfast. All right? I love y'all. And I'll be back soon. Okay? Have a good one.